right, is this thing on? Oh yeah. Good morning, BTC Prague. Okay, let's get into it. First off, I think the easiest way to start is to get a little bit of a short introduction from everyone so we all know each other a little better. Can we start with Douglas? Can you give us a short introduction?
Yeah, it's working good. So, hi everyone, I'm Douglas. I'm CEO at Bitbox. I invented the original Bitbox 01 hardware wallet. And yeah, my background is very technical, science also. And now my job is basically talking to people, and I no longer get to do the fun things.
Charles.
Hi everyone, my name is Charles Guillemet. I'm CTO at Ledger. My background is cryptography and security. As it was said, I was doing hacking when I was a teenager. It used to be my hobby, and it became my job a long time after. I discovered Bitcoin in 2011. At this time, a friend of mine was mining with his own computer. It was possible at this time. And he was talking about Bitcoin like every day. So at some point, I decided to have a look at this thing. And what I discovered was amazing. I was like, oh, the technology is amazing. The cryptography is crazy. This double spending problem and its solution. So I was really amazed by the technology aspect, but I didn't really get what was the point. And I remember my feedback to my friend was, oh, your thing is amazing, but there is absolutely no chance that this thing will be adopted by people in the future. So I was obviously wrong. And this is what I understood in 2017 when I joined Ledger.
Great. Thomas?
Yeah, so very similar story to what the guys said. So I was fascinated by computers, and then later on cryptography and security as well. And I've basically came from the technology side of things. So I was really curious about cryptography, and that led me to Bitcoin also many years back. And basically, I knew I always want to do something in that regard. I knew I want to, look into cryptography and computer security. And basically, that's what led me to Trezor already 8 years ago. And I started there, and then it led me to the position of CTO, and here I am today.
Fantastic. So, a great group of knowledgeable people in the hardware wallet space. And I think that's a good place to start. We heard from Dominic about why it's important to save in Bitcoin, but we're talking about how. So, Tomáš, can you start us off with how you can save in Bitcoin securely?
Okay, so I have a very shocking answer to you, and that is you should buy a hardware wallet, right? Which is very surprising from a panelist of three that all of us are manufacturers of hardware wallets. Maybe just very briefly, because I can imagine there are a lot of newcomers to the Bitcoin space. So just very briefly, what the hardware wallet is. So hardware wallet is a special single-purpose device. It's you can imagine it as a flash drive or something like that with a screen and the buttons or something like that. And it's basically a special device that holds the private keys that control your Bitcoin or whatever, whatever your digital wealth that you have. And this is fundamentally different to whatever the exchanges are doing, because the exchanges are actually holding the keys for you, right? I mean, you just believe them that they actually do have the Bitcoin, right? And there are many examples where they actually weren't, and they pass it on to sister companies and all that. So this is the fundamentally difference, and I believe that's the best way how to secure your Bitcoin is to buy a hardware wallet, and then you have the keys secure there.
Fantastic. Anything to add to that, Charles?
Yes, definitely. So when you have a hardware wallet, when you have Bitcoin, what you actually have is a private key. You have the public key. This is your addresses that are essentially your public keys, where that allows people to send you Bitcoin or whatever crypto. But the true ownership of Bitcoin comes with the knowledge of this private key. And as we say in the space, not your keys, not your crypto, not your keys, not your Bitcoin especially. And this private key is essential. You don't want to lose it. If you lose the access to your private key, you will lose access to your Bitcoin forever, and no one can recover your Bitcoin. And alternatively, like if an attacker is able to get an access to this private key, he will pretend it is you, and he will claim ownership over your Bitcoin, and he will simply steal your Bitcoin. So that's why like the security of this private key is paramount. And you could use a software wallet to do so, but if you are doing it, this private key will be stored inside your computer or inside your mobile phone. And as we all know, these devices are not designed for security. If you have malware on your computer, the malware will simply steal your private keys, and you have no way to get back access to your Bitcoin. And because like the blockchain is immutable, there is no third party. You can go to your bank and claim, oh, I lost my Bitcoin. Can I get back my Bitcoin? This is not possible. So that's why like security is paramount. And from my standpoint, you have like 3 properties that needs to be fulfilled when it comes to owning your Bitcoin. The first one is really like securing this private key. And when you have a hardware wallet, what you essentially do is like generating your private key inside the hardware wallet. Also, you would want that the cryptography to be implemented inside a secure enclave so that the private key doesn't have to leave the secure enclave. And lastly, you also need a secure display. You need a screen that will show you what kind of transaction you are signing. Because if you don't have a secure display, maybe you think you are signing a specific transaction, while behind the hood, a malware simply replays the transaction and tricks you into signing a malicious transaction. So that's why like, the 3 properties are really important, and you essentially have them when you have a hardware wallet. And the specificity for Ledger is that we are using secure element to do so. Secure element is a smart card technology. This is the same technology that you can find in your passport or in your banking card. But the important difference is that in your banking card or in your passport, the secure elements are simply securing the keys of the government or the keys of the bank. And we are completely reversing the game where we are leveraging secure elements so that users can secure their own private key inside this technology.
Douglas, I saw you nodding a bit there. Do you have anything to add on to this?
Well, I think they both made a strong argument for why to do self-custody, why to use a hardware wallet. I think that's established here. I would say, just to add on to that, I would say if you're new to hardware wallets, they may seem like these complicated things, but actually we all spend a lot of effort to try to make them as simple as possible. And so it's not as hard as you expect. And so I think if you don't have a hardware wallet, just go out and get one. Could be ours, could be anyone's. It doesn't really matter. Just start with a hardware wallet. And I would say a big mistake that people make is that they think, OK, Bitcoin, really need to keep these keys secure, really need to keep this key secure. And they go and research, and they try to do all these really advanced things. I would say start out very simple. Because what we see is like more advanced things like multi-sig or passphrases to add an extra layer of, I guess, password protection onto your wallet. But what we see is that these are oftentimes the cases where people make mistakes and they forget their passphrase, which locks them out of access to the wallet. If they have a multi-sig setup, they maybe make some mistakes in the process. And it's easy to make mistakes with complexity. And so hardware wallets are designed to keep your Bitcoin secure in a very safe way. So just get a hardware wallet, use the default things, get to know it. And I guess as you get more experience in the space, you can, if you understand these complicated things, these more complex processes, then maybe you can dip your toes in.
Maybe just if I can add, I really agree, I strongly agree with that, because I think we as a technical person, we sometimes tend to talk heavily about all the different vulnerabilities, attacks, hackers, and whatnot, like really very, very advanced attacks. But I unfortunately think that the security reality is elsewhere, and it's basically just the people, unfortunately doing something they shouldn't do. And I think that's our mission as well, like all of us, to really push the usability further, because I think one of the most important aspects of the security is the usability itself. I really like this motto, which says security at the cost of usability comes at the cost of security, which is something I really strongly believe. Like if you can have the most secure setup, like really something completely crazy, but then if you cannot use it properly, I mean, you're kind of screwed anyway, right? Because eventually you will make a mistake and it will cost you the savings. So I think the usability part is really very important. I also think we've done quite some job. Like 10 years ago, it was way more geeky. I really think we're moving in the right direction. But at the same time, there's still a lot of things to do because people don't lose Bitcoin or whatever. I believe they are not losing those through some very complicated hardware attacks or whatever. They are unfortunately losing them through phishing, right? Because that's still the #1 threat I think we're seeing because as Charles said, because there's no party involved in the transactions, right? That's the whole point of Bitcoin. You cannot really revert the transactions and whatever, right? So once you get scammed, it's gone forever. And I think really that's also our mission to push the usability further, pixel by pixel.
Yeah, definitely. User experience was a big challenge in the past, and I think we collectively did a great job at improving the user experience. Because I think this is one of the biggest challenge for newcomers to start into Bitcoin. And one of the things I like with hardware wallets, apart from the security and the true ownership that I mentioned before, is the fact that it makes crypto tangible. Because otherwise, crypto is something completely abstract, completely digital. It is. Bitcoin is on the blockchain. You can't really touch the blockchain. However, when you have a hardware wallet in your hand, you can feel it. You can feel there is something tangible, an object that represents your ownership. And I think this is very powerful. The first time you have a hardware wallet, you can really feel this thing. And the second thing I can mention is, as I mentioned, we have drastically improved the user experience, the onboarding for newcomers into crypto. And now, when you are starting your Bitcoin life with a Ledger device, you will clearly better understand how Bitcoin works. It won't be only like an abstract thing into your Robinhood account. You will really understand what is Bitcoin and how it works. And you will be guided into self-custody and what it represents. And it really helps you to better understand and be more educated to what is Bitcoin.
Yeah, these are all great points. And I mean, I think where I would take this a little bit here is we've all been talking about from the perspective of you have the hardware wallet, right? But I think understanding the initial step, so maybe you buy Bitcoin off some exchange or someone sends it to you in a soft wallet, something like this, you don't understand the difference. At what point should people consider getting a hardware wallet? Douglas, do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, a bit related to this, a bit related to last topic, that if you're new to the space, you don't have Bitcoin yet, I think you can start from day zero with the ultimate security. You can buy a hardware wallet before having any Bitcoin at all. And all of our products now in the app itself, you can buy Bitcoin directly, and you can put it directly onto your hardware wallet in the safest, what we consider the safest way to store it. And so you don't even need exchanges anymore. And so I think that's an important aspect to mention.
Yeah, definitely. So when you don't need to have 1,000 or 10,000 worth of Bitcoin in order to buy a hardware wallet. This is something I hear quite often. But at the end, when you start your Bitcoin life with a hardware wallet, you will gain a lot of wealth, which is knowledge. When you start with a hardware wallet, you will understand how Bitcoin works, how a hardware wallet works, and it's really worth the price of the wallet. I can assure you this. And secondly,
yeah. As people pay hundreds of dollars just for consultants, and you can learn it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a great point. You can learn it from using the hardware wallet.
And you will be onboarding on the application. We have Ledger Live, and inside Ledger Live, you can directly buy Bitcoin. You can buy, sell, swap. If you use like a staking type of coin, you can also stake, get yield. You can even have a credit card where you will be able to spend your Bitcoin in any merchant. You just pay with Visa, and your Bitcoin are spent at the time of purchase. So there are plenty of use cases, and you will be guided in this world. And again, the first thing that you will earn is knowledge, and this is the most valuable thing, I think.
Knowledge is so important, and getting into this space, there can almost be an overwhelming amount of knowledge to come in. So trying to keep it a little simple, how can someone who wants to go buy a hardware wallet actually know what they're getting is the real deal? How do they know that the security being provided is what's advertised? Is there anything to say about that, Thomas?
So you mean how do they know if the hardware wallet is genuine? Or
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, over the past years, all of us implemented a number of precautions that basically prevent any possible fakes. So we do have a secure element in the safe series as well, which basically prove the authenticity of the device. There's also many minor things which if you sum them all together, they bring some value as well. So whether it's secure packaging or any hologram seals and all that. I mean, we sometimes got criticized for that they don't bring that much, but I tend to disagree, because if you put all those different things together, you'll get a way better system than if you rely just on one thing. So I do believe that security is a puzzle, and each of those pieces does bring something else, and we're trying to combine all of them together to provide the best security. So, again, as I've mentioned, that sometimes we tend to talk about extremely heavy topics, security or technical-wise, but then again, and I'm repeating myself, I'm talking about phishing. I just think that, in reality, unfortunately, it's way more common that the users do something they do not intend to, or they are tricked into, confirming something on the device that on the display that they didn't want to. And I think that's way more common than, some fakes and that. But that being said, of course, we're pushing it further, and we have a range of protections in Trezor.
So I agree with most of what you said, except one thing. So I slightly disagree with one thing. So I agree that security is a puzzle. However, when it comes to adding new security features, at Ledger we are always thinking about adding new security features, and the question is always how easy is it to break this security feature? And when we think it's really too easy, such as a security seal or a sticker or this kind of thing, I think these things are too easy to break, then I tend to avoid implementing them, because it could give a false sense of security. And I agree that it will prevent very low-level attacker to do fake devices or fake boxes. However, for the user, it will give a false sense of security, and I tend to avoid implementing such type of security feature. What we are doing at Ledger for ensuring genuineness is the following. So we are using secure element like a smart card technology, and during the manufacturing process, we are putting an attestation inside the device, meaning there is a certificate, a cryptographic certificate inside the secure element, so that the device can prove it's genuine to our HSM. So when you are connecting your device to Ledger Live, there will be a genuine check, which is a cryptographic proof that the device is a genuine one. And to your point about security, it's always difficult to prove security. And at the end, everyone is claiming security, and it's really easier to claim security than proving security, definitely. What we are doing at Ledger in order to provide more evidence of security is going through security evaluation to obtain certification. So all our products today have gone through this security evaluation, and we have obtained security certification. The secure element that we are using is EAL5 plus certified. This is the highest level of security when it comes to the circuit itself. But we also have gone through security evaluation to obtain certification for the whole hardware wallet. So this is also the type of evidence that we can provide to the users. But at the end, when you are using a hardware wallet, at least a serious one, you are far more secure than any other solution. This is what I want to say at first.
Yeah, great. And well, so with the concept of the hardware wallet being the security for the private key, which is the mechanism of saying that you own the Bitcoin and you want to make transactions. Okay, then the responsibility shifts to the user. This is the fundamental change. You're no longer saying that an exchange or a bank or something like this is the one that is keeping control of your keys. You are the one taking responsibility for that. So the follow-on to this is, how do you secure the security? How do you secure the hardware wallet itself? Right? So this could mean either physically securing it, keeping it in a safe place, but also these things aren't completely indestructible. They're not going to last 1 million years, something like that. I picked 1 million because I'm sure there's some durability testing or something like this. But anyway, not going to last 1 million. So what are your thoughts about securing the security, backups of the hardware wallet? Douglas, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah. So we do design our product to last for 21 million years.
Nice.
It's a joke. But yeah, so it's a great point. So it's a mind shift. So taking self-responsibility, but this is the whole Bitcoin ethos. Take away the responsibility from governments and banks, where they often rug pull you. Inflation is a silent tax, and they're rug pulling you all the time. And you put that into yourself, and that's when you can guarantee or have more guarantees about your own financial future. And so I think that's very important. And then as for security, now, the issue is with the backups. And so in practice now, there's a lot of ways to do it. So typically, you write down these seed words onto a piece of paper. You can stamp it into metal so that it can survive fires and things like that. But then the issue then is if someone gets access to this, they can get access to, they have your keys, so they can access all of your coins. So it's absolutely crucial to keep these secure. And I think what process is best really depends on the use case, and it probably also depends on your jurisdiction. So we're a Swiss company. Our products are Swiss-made. In Switzerland, there's a pretty still high level of trust for the government. It actually functions. I'm American, so I'm a bit surprised to see a functioning government. And people trust their banks. And so I think in Switzerland, it's get a bank vault, you can throw it in there, you're going to be okay. In other jurisdictions, maybe not. And so this is when it probably starts to come into play, like how many coins do you have? Because the more coins you have, maybe you want to do a bit more security. And I would say this field, I think, is going to evolve over the next five years or so. Because it is a problem. It is stressful for users. So it's not necessarily the simplest thing from an emotional point of view. But I think there's some interesting technologies coming out that aren't so polished yet, but they might provide interesting ways to store your backup. For example, Miniscript with time locks and things like that.
You started to mention some advanced features, and even earlier on you were talking about some more advanced things. We've been talking from the perspective a little bit about the individual up to this point, but entities that aren't individuals exactly are also holding Bitcoin. Now you can debate a little bit about can a company really hold Bitcoin, can a nation state really hold Bitcoin. Ultimately the key exists and someone has to hold the key somehow. But there are features to do this and to make this more robust and secure, such as, for example, multi-sig or other more complicated vaults. So what is maybe your experience a little bit about the institutional side of things? How would say, a company or a nation go about securing their Bitcoin? Charles?
Yeah, it's a very good one. So again, like self-custody is fundamental when you own Bitcoin, and the same, so it applies very well for individual, but when you are an organization or a group of people, self-custody is much more difficult to define, because you don't want to have like someone in the organization to have full access to all the Bitcoin of the company. First of all, most of the time, the Bitcoin do not even belong to the company, but to the users of the company. So you don't want to be in a situation where even the CEO has a full access to this coin. So what you want to implement is governance over this Bitcoin. And there are like multiple ways to do so. So we are like leveraging Miniscript, multisig for Bitcoin. You can use our devices to do so. But we also have like an enterprise solution, which is called the Ledger Vault. Ledger is very well known for our hardware wallet, but we also have like an enterprise solution that's called the Ledger Vault. And Ledger Vault is a solution that allows institution, organization, group of people to do self-custody with governance. So they will be able to define who is an administrator of the platform, who is an operator, and what are the rights over the account. So they will be able to define that this specific account can be accessed by this specific list of people. They can make transaction to only this specific address, which is the whitelist feature. If they want to spend over like 10 Bitcoin a day, they need to gather 3 approvals out of 5. Like this is the kind of governance that can be implemented. The framework is very flexible. It's really up to the company to decide there's governance rules. And on the technical side, we are leveraging HSM. HSM stands for Hardware Security Module. So it's basically a big secure servers that is running on some dedicated data center into private caging. And we are giving the customers, we are providing them with a personal security device. And as soon as they will be like either changing the governance framework or approving transaction, they will have to verify this transaction on device, again on the screen. Because having like security at rest with the keys inside an enclave is important, but having a way to securely verify on a trusted display that you are doing this specific transaction is even more important.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I wanted to add that, I mean, from our side, Trezor is fully B2C, so we're not really doing much B2B, and we don't really care that much about institutions. Our mission really is to, empower and strengthen the power of individuals. So we're trying to focus on the individuals more. And I also wanted to add that the backup that we've been talking about, the BIP39, is actually something we invented 10 years or whatever ago. It's probably even more. So anytime you're writing down those words, it doesn't matter if it's a hardware wallet or if it's a software wallet. You're actually using something that we invented and gave the world, and I'm pretty happy about that. And few years back, we tried to upgrade it, and we invented something that we called Shamir Backup at the time. We now rebranded it into multi-share, where you're actually able, not to have just one set of words, but actually to have multiple of them, and so you can split it better and give some to your family and friends or whatever, basically distribute it. So I'm pretty happy about that. That being said, I also think, as I'm saying for the third time, there is still the phishing area, which what I'm trying to say is that I really believe that the words are amazing instrument. I think it's something that we invented greatly. By the way, I was always figuring out how the hell is it being backed. Like before I joined Trezor, I was like, hey, what the hell? If it breaks down, then I mean it's gone, right? It doesn't make any sense. And then I joined Trezor and I realized how it works with the words, and it's really awesome. But that being said, unfortunately, still this day we're seeing people entering those words not into hardware device and basically into scam websites. And that's something that's hurting my heart, and that's something I would like to fix us as an industry moving further as well.
Yeah, those words are just as valuable as the hardware wallet itself.
Exactly.
It is the key. Yeah. Yeah, and so keeping that secure becomes the mission, and it sort of feels like maybe a game of whack-a-mole a little bit. Like you have one level that you take care of your security, and then there's the next level, and then you can start to get a little bit more paranoid about that as well. And now I do know that there are some features of hardware wallets that cater to maybe the paranoid crypto anarchist crowd, or at least they do in terms of the marketing. Like for example, there's something called air gapping, which is making sure that your device doesn't connect at all to anything outside of it, and maybe that's one of these kind of marketing gimmicks. So we were talking a little bit about this before the talk. Douglas, do you have any thoughts about this concept of air gapping?
I do. Yeah, we wrote a blog article about it. You can check out. Yeah, we have a lot of interesting articles, educational articles. We try to give to help people understand the space. So check out our blog on bitbox.swiss. But yeah, so air gap, just to define it, first of all, in the hardware wallet space, it means using, for example, QR codes, like a camera and a QR code, to communicate with your phone or your computer in order to communicate transaction data and sign transactions. Whereas all of our products are USB-based, some Bluetooth. where you directly plug in the device. I think if you go back in history, like air gap actually would apply to our devices also, in the sense that the operations, the security-sensitive operations are happening on a device that's physically distinct from a device that's connected to the internet. That's really a definition.
The hardware wallet do not implement TCP/IP, and
Exactly.
thus they are air-gapped by definition.
Yeah, exactly. But specific to air gap in the industry today, we actually looked at that when we were developing the Bitbox 02, and we looked at should we implement this or not, and we looked at it's all in the blog article. We looked at a lot of the security vulnerabilities that were reported, and everything we could find would apply both to an air-gapped hardware wallet or one of our devices that you plug in. And the reason is most of the errors are due to logical errors, like, for example, verifying the transaction in a wrong way. And so one thing that's important to understand is if you have a hardware wallet, you have to have communication to the internet, because you need to communicate to the blockchain in order to know how many coins you have, or if you want to send a transaction. So there's always communication happening. If it's over USB wire or if it's over the air with a QR code, it's the same exact information that has to be transferred. And that's why if there's a logical error in the transaction verification is going to affect all of them. And so what we found in the end is that we didn't really see a security benefit to it, but we saw a usability degrade because it's a bit complicated to have these interactions, and also for more advanced security features like anti-exfil, anti-klepto. It's actually almost, like, the UX makes it almost impossible to do it on an air-gap machine. And so from our point of view, again, we talked about simplicity a lot at the beginning. Simplicity is your friend. Simplicity is security. And the simplest way to use hardware wallets we found was through physical connections, or Bluetooth also works.
Tomáš?
I'll try to be very brief. I just wanted to give kudos to Douglas, because I've read the article and I really stand by it as well. So no controversies there. Apologies. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the air gap story is pissing me off sometimes, because I mean, there's nothing inherently secure by the fact that you have a camera and you're scanning some QR codes. I mean, you still need to transfer the information. The camera still has some code. So does the QR code parsing, right? You still need to somehow transfer the information, and just by the fact that it goes over air instead of Bluetooth or cable, I mean, yeah, I hate it. Sorry, it's a gimmick to some extent.
Sure. So, well, speaking of gimmicks, and maybe to take this back into a little something more concrete, we've got a few minutes left, and I think I'd like to leave our audience with a little bit of some practical things to do. So, buying a hardware wallet is one thing, but if you could leave our audience with one thing to do to keep your Bitcoin secure, what would it be, Charles?
Only one. I think education is key. Like, you need to understand what you are doing. You need to understand how Bitcoin is working. So education is key. Maybe the second one would be, like, your backup is very important. You should keep it safe in the safe location. You might need, like, multiple backup. Ledger is offering multiple options with the BIP39 standard. We also have Ledger Recover. We are working on, like, different options in the future. So backup is important. Verifying what kind of transaction you are signing is also very important. If you blindly sign a transaction, maybe you are signing the transaction you wanted, but maybe you are simply signing away your wallet. So this is not something you want. And finally, maybe I can briefly talk about transaction check on device, which is a feature that we released recently. And the idea is to provide on the device a risk assessment for a specific transaction. The way it works is pretty simple. When the transaction is crafted, we are sending the raw transaction to a third party that are analyzing the risk for this specific transaction. And on device, you are receiving the raw transaction to be signed along with this risk assessment. And then you can verify the transaction and decide if you want to sign it or not. We released this feature only in 2 months ago, and only on our newer devices, and we saved more than 18 million in 1 month. So this is a killer feature. Please use it. And it's It's an option, so you don't have to. If you care more about your privacy than you care about your security, you might not want to use it. But I think it's worth the benefit.
Bitcoin specific, or that's more for smart contracts?
It's a cross-chain, and for now we are not supporting all the chains, but this is what we are planning to do. But the risk is higher on smart contract, definitely.
Douglas, any last words here? Any last advice?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked a lot already about. You already have a lot of answers. I guess I would re-emphasize one point, and that is if you get a hardware wallet, I think it's really important to get one with a screen. And the reason for that is hardware wallets, by default, should automatically assume that your computer or your phone is fully hacked. That's also why like air gap doesn't really matter, because the QR codes should be assumed, any communication should be assumed hacked. And with the screen, you're verifying like what you think you want to do is being verified on the hardware wallet itself. It's showing you what actually is going to happen. And that's a crucial aspect, because if there's no screen on the device, then you have to trust your phone or your computer, the app there. And there's lots and lots and lots of backdoors. Like these things have millions of lines of code. It's impossible to audit. And so you really need a hardware wallet with a screen.
Yeah, a hardware wallet without a screen is just security theater. I want to highlight this. Thank you for saying it.
Great. Last words.
So I agree with both of them. So yeah, definitely hardware wallet needs to have a display. It's something that we've realized when we invented Trezor. We were the first hardware wallet, and there was a display from the start. So it's something that you really need for the security. Otherwise, it's a theater. And I also wanted to agree with Charles on the education part. I really think you need to educate yourself, because hardware wallets are self-custody, and it obviously brings some risks. So you need to educate yourself first. You can buy hardware wallet right away, or you can first play around with the software wallet. It's fine if you put $20 there, but then eventually you need a hardware wallet, and you need to study it for yourself, and we'll try to help along the way.
Absolutely perfect. So for anyone who wants to know more, come visit any of the 3 booths, Bitbox, Ledger, Trezor. They're all out in the expo hall. See you there. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thanks, Luke.
Secure your BTC Prague 2026 ticket at the lowest possible price now.